G'day guys, my name's Dave and welcome to another Guitars Ready Hero song tutorial. In this lesson, I'll teach you how to play I'll Follow the Sun by the Beatles, which is an awesome acoustic tune. For the basics, we'll just need our guitar in standard tuning, no capo required. If you want to master your chords back to front, then be sure to head over to guitarsreadyhero.com to pick up my free guitar ebook, or if you want to improve on your guitar in general, then be sure to check out Chords Strumming Premium, which is my complete step-by-step guitar course. Alright, let's jump into the lesson. Okay, so let's start with the intro, and there's two chords, really nice and easy. We're going to start with the C chord, and then we'll go to an F major 7. So from the C chord, move your middle finger to the 3rd string, so 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and your pinky finger will go onto the 3rd fret of the 4th string. Now we want to keep the 1st string open as well, and ideally if you can, reach your thumb over the top to hit the 1st fret of the 6th string, although that's not 100% necessary. You could just leave the 6th string out, leave it muted, and strum from the 5th string as well if you want. So that's F major 7. Now our strumming pattern for these two chords is going to go something like this. Down, up, down, up, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, up, down, up. We play that once for each chord and an intro. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now we get to verse part 1. There's 2 lines of chords here. So we're going to start with the G chord. Now, Paul McCartney plays his G chord like this. It's a 3-finger G chord with his ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and pinky on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. So that's the way that Paul McCartney plays it. You could also use a 4-finger G chord or a 3-finger G chord play like this as well if you want. However, for the rest of this lesson, I'll be using this G chord. And then we go to an F chord. So you can play the F like a regular F bar chord, but I'm going to play my F chord in a similar way to the F major 7. However, I'm just going to focus on these 5 strings here, the thickest 5 strings, and leave the 1st string muted. Play it like an F major 7, that's okay as well. And even if you happen to just focus on the middle 4 strings that are fretted, that's okay as well. So we have F, then C, and D. Now with the D chord, one little tip is that you definitely don't want the 6th string ringing out. If you happen to accidentally hit the 5th string, that's okay. But if you're fretting a D chord and you hit the open 6th string, it can sound really messy. So just use your thumb to reach over the top and lightly touch that 6th string, and that will ensure that that 6th string never rings out when you're trying to hit a D chord. Now each one of those chords is played for that strumming pattern that we had in the intro, so the first line of chords will sound like this. The second line of chords, we have our C chord, and then we go to a C/B. So from the C, lift your middle and ring finger, and your middle finger will just move to the 2nd fret of the 5th string. Now with that middle finger reaching up to hit that 2nd fret of the 5th string, have it lightly touching the 4th string, and that way that string will be muted. Now it doesn't really matter if you do let that 4th string ring out, but I think it sounds a bit cleaner if you have that 4th string muted. Just keep your index finger where it is on that 1st fret of the 2nd string, and that's C/B. And we're just strumming from the 5th string onwards. So similar to the C chord, we don't want our 6th string ringing out. Now those 2 chords are within 1 bar of music. For this bar of music, we're just going to play a continuous down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up at 8th notes. We're going to change chords on the 3 beat. So the C to the C/B, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then for the next bar, it's the same thing, 2 chords within the 1 bar. We have D, and then we go to a G. For this particular G, I like using the 4-finger G chord because the transition from a D chord is really simple because we can just plant our ring finger there on that 3rd fret of the 2nd string, pivot around it to go to that 4-finger G chord. So this bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then for the 3rd bar, we go back to a C for the regular strumming pattern. And then for the 4th bar, it's an F chord. Remember, you can play a full F bar chord, or you can just use that thumb F that I taught you earlier, and C. And those 2 chords are within 1 strumming pattern. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 And in total for the second line of chords, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that's everything for verse part 1, which sounds like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Next we get to verse part 2, which is pretty much the same as verse part 1, except for the final bar. So instead of an F and C for that final bar, we're going to play a C7. So from the C chord, we're just going to take our pinky finger and put it on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. So that's our C7 chord. So I'll play the second line of chords here for verse part 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So that's how I'm going to play it for this particular lesson and how I'll play it in the playthrough at the end. But I do want to note that in the actual recording, the change to the C7 occurs on the end beat after the 4 of the previous C chord. So for that 3rd bar of music, we actually go to the C7, we change that C7 on the end beat after the 4, which sounds like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So the second line of chords would sound like this with that change on the end beat after the 4. You can add that little variation if you want to, but for the rest of this lesson and in the playthrough at the end, I'll just make things simple and we'll change to that C7 on the 1 beat instead of the end beat after the 4. But in total, verse part 2 will sound like this with the simplified change to the C7 on the 1 beat. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Next we get to the chorus, and there's 2 lines of chords here. So we're going to start with a D minor chord, but we're going to play it using this fingering. So index finger on the 1st fret of the 1st string, pinky finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd, and our middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Now with the D minor, we just want to focus from the 4th string onwards. So again, you could use your thumb to reach over the top and mute the 6th string. So that's D minor. Then we go to an F minor 6. So from our position, we'll keep our pinky finger where it is. Our ring finger will go onto the 3rd fret of the 4th string, and our index finger will now bar across the 1st frets from the 3rd string onwards. So that's our F minor 6 right there. Now, if you're having troubles barring that index finger across all those strings, you can really just focus on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings if you want, and just ensure that the index finger is at least fretting the 1st fret of the 3rd string correctly. And then we have C and a C7. Now all these chords are played with the strumming pattern that we had in the verse, so the first line of chords will sound like this. Now again, you can change to the C7 chord early on the end beat after the 4 in the previous bar if you wanted to, and that's what they do in the recording and when Paul McCartney plays it live. But for the simplicity of this lesson and the playthrough at the end, I will be changing to that chord on the 1 beat. But if you change on the end beat after the 4, the first line of chords would sound like this. Anyway, moving on to the second line of chords, it's almost the same, except instead of a C7, we go back to a D minor chord for the 4th bar. That's everything for the chorus, which will sound like this. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and... I'll quickly show you how to play the lead guitar solo, which is very short and it's pretty simple. We are just playing a whole bunch of slides. So we're going to start on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. We're going to pluck that and then slide up to the 8th fret on the end beat after the 2. So you only have plucked the string once, but you let it ring out on that 3rd fret and slide up to the 8th fret on the end beat after the 2. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and notice how I only plucked it once. I applied pressure onto that note the whole time, even when I was sliding up to the 8th fret. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... For the next bar, we're going to do the exact same thing, but start on the 4th fret this time, and then slide up to the 10th fret. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Then for the 3rd bar, we're going to go to the 8th fret of the 2nd string. We're going to pluck that on the 2 beat, and then slide up to the 13th fret on the 3 beat. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and... On the 4 beat, we'll go with our index finger down to the 12th fret of the 2nd string, pluck that, and we'll slide up to the 15th fret on the 1 beat of the 4th bar. So 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and in total the solo will sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Those are all the parts you need to learn, and the structure of this song is quite simple. We start off with the intro, then we have verse part 1, verse part 2, we have a chorus, another verse part 1, another verse part 2, another chorus, and finally we end the song with another verse part 1. So now I'll be doing a full playthrough of the song with a vocal track on top for some context. A big thanks to my friend Eric for lending his awesome vocals to this playthrough. Feel free to play this back as many times as you'd like to practice, play along to, and see how you go. Thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this lesson, then I know you'll absolutely love these other lessons too. So hit the link here, or if you want to grab a copy of my free guitar ebook, then head over to guitarzerotohero.com or click the link here. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys next time on Guitar Zero to Hero. Cheers.